Hey guys, welcome back to the channel for my review of the final Kenobi episode of Season 1. So this episode is huge. It is the episode that has been anticipated for so long, and so much goes on in this episode. Towards the start, we just see some setup for the rematch between Vader and Kenobi, so there's not too much notable that happens at the start of this episode. Just a lot of plot setup, which is pretty good. We also see Reva arrive on Tatooine, and this episode doesn't make it really clear why she wants to kill Luke. I guess it can be inferred that she assumes Luke is important to Vader and or Kenobi, and killing him, I guess, is a way to get revenge. But I wish the episode made this much more clear. But yeah, then the big fight begins, Vader versus Obi-Wan in their second rematch of the series. Words are exchanged, and I feel like this fight is very emotionally charged. And then the fight begins. It's really good, I think. In terms of choreography, it's not the best we've seen from Star Wars. And I gotta say, I hate the shaky cam effect that we've seen in this entire series. It's very distracting and just not a good technique. But nonetheless, I think this fight is still really good. And I like the shots that we see of Kenobi and Vader facing off. The dialogue is also pretty good here, such as Vader taunting Kenobi that his weakness still remains. Eventually, we see a point where Kenobi falls into a pit and is buried by rocks, and when Vader says goodbye to his master, it's very chilling. In the meantime, we see Reva arrive at Tatooine, and I like that the series shows us more of Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, even if it's to a limited extent. We see how much they truly do care for Luke, and as Uncle Owen says, they treat him as though he's one of their own. Obi-Wan has this motivational moment where we see flashbacks of Luke and Leia, which motivates him to break out of the rocks. Yeah, this is pretty cliche, but I think it works because, again, this is his goal, to protect the twins. Then the fight resumes. We see this moment where Obi-Wan lifts up a bunch of rocks with the Force and just flings them all at once at Vader. We see him push back Vader into a rock wall. Pretty powerful moment because I think it shows how Obi-Wan's strength and spirit has returned over the course of the series. And soon enough, we see Kenobi actually break Vader's mask, tearing this page from Star Wars Rebels and basically doing the same thing. Yeah, it's not an original idea, but I think it works here, and let's be honest, we all knew this was going to happen. This is my favorite part of the entire series, and this is the climax. It's what everything has been building up to. We see Vader look up, part of his mask gone, and we see Obi-Wan horrified, heartbroken, teary-eyed. I think the acting is very good here, and Obi-Wan, of course, has been a highlight in this show, as he should be, because it's his show. Obi-Wan tries to apologize, and of course, he blames himself for everything that happened to Anakin. He feels guilty, and I think this guilt has been portrayed very well in the series. But then we see something unexpected. Vader says he is not Obi-Wan's failure. In fact, it was Vader who killed Anakin. And Vader sees Anakin, his old self, as weak. And this is also consistent with what Ben Kenobi tells Luke in the original trilogy, that it was, in a way, Vader who killed Anakin. This is the moment when Obi-Wan finally gives up on Anakin for good, acknowledging that his friend is gone and won't come back or can't be redeemed. Obi-Wan ends off by saying goodbye, Darth. At first, this seems like a goofy line, but it actually has a deeper meaning. In the original 1977 movie, in their duel, Ben Kenobi very strangely calls Vader Darth, as if it's his first name, which, to be fair, probably was when that movie was made. But now, 40 years later? That seems very weird. But this one line, goodbye, Darth, justifies that, showing that Obi-Wan now sees Vader as a Sith Lord, as evil, just as Darth, by his title. It's small details like these that really elevate the show, because it retroactively improves and provides more meaning to the original trilogy. And one final thing, I love Vader's voice here. It's very clearly a combination of a distorted, robotic James Earl Jones voice and Hayden Christensen's voice. You can hear both, and I feel like that combination here is so good. But back to the Reva storyline, she finally catches up to Luke and is about to kill him, but then she sees herself as a youngling in that exact same position. We get some flashbacks, great use of those flashbacks here, and she decides not to kill him. I feel like Reva has been a really good character in the series, and her arc has been very well done. I like how the series establishes her as a parallel of Vader, but in the end she decides to choose mercy and redeems herself, goes a different path from becoming Vader. She and Obi-Wan come face to face for the final time. He remarks that they're both free now, and she goes off. And I like that the series decides to keep Reva alive because that is definitely the less predictable option. Usually these redeemed dark characters end up getting killed off. We saw it with Kylo Ren, we saw it with Vader, but they go a different route with Reva here, which is nice. Then we see Vader at his castle at Mustafar, and yeah, the Emperor makes a surprise appearance here. I definitely was not expecting him to be in this series, but he is. And it's really cool to see him in hologram form. He has a final conversation with Vader, which I think is a great ending point for Vader in the series, as he reaffirms his loyalty to the Emperor and claims that he has let go of any feelings he has for Kenobi. And then finally we hear the Imperial March play as the camera zooms out on Vader on his throne. It is so disappointing that the soundtrack was only used once in this show. We're talking about one of the best film soundtracks of all time, and they barely use it here. I feel like the John Williams themes are great, and there's no real reason to avoid using them. They should have been used much more in the series, and to save them up for a final scene isn't really worth it. Then we see a final reunion between Obi-Wan and Leia. Leia's been a great part of this show, and this was a nice send-off for her, with Obi-Wan listing the qualities that come from her parents. Obi-Wan also has a final conversation with Owen, and he meets Luke off-screen for the first time. He even drops the famous "hello there" line, which had me laughing when I first saw this episode. The final scene of the show shows the Force Ghost of Qui-Gon Jinn finally appearing. They had been hinting at this for a while, and it was really nice to see him back and say that he's been with Obi-Wan this whole time. The cameo appearances of Qui-Gon Jinn and Emperor Palpatine in this episode were two touches that I really appreciated here. This was a great episode, and it gets the full 10 out of 10 from me. Obi-Wan Kenobi is by far the best live-action Star Wars show, and this episode was incredible. Overall, I really enjoyed the series. I thought it did a great job of bridging the gap between episodes 3 and 4 of the Skywalker saga, and it's been really fun to review these episodes. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, subscribe, share with anyone you know. Share your thoughts on the Obi-Wan Kenobi finale below, and I'll see you guys next time.